1, we've got a real treat for you. A 1975 Dodge D200 that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for just $4,000. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A truck that old? It must be a rust bucket. But hold your horses, because this beauty might just surprise you. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller themselves has listed it as good, and from what I can see, they're not just blowing smoke. The body and original paint are in great shape for a truck that's pushing 50 years old. Sure, there's some minor rust, but hey, that just adds to its character, right? Under the hood, you'll find a beefy V8 360 motor that's paired with an automatic transmission. And get this, the truck even comes with a factory-installed adjustable rear bumper, which was designed specifically for use with a camper. How cool is that? Now, I know you're probably wondering about the mileage. The odometer reads 18,849, but here's the thing, it's rolled over. So while we can't be entirely sure of the actual mileage, the seller assures us that this truck starts and drives well. In fact, they even go as far as calling it great and reliable. But, as with any vehicle, there are a few cons to consider. The gas gauge doesn't work, but the seller has a simple solution. Just track your mileage and refill before every 200 miles. They even have a new fuel sending unit ready to be installed. And while the secondary gas tank is currently serving as the primary tank, that's not necessarily a deal breaker. On the plus side, this Dodge D200 has a bunch of new parts, including a starter, alternator, ECU, and intake gasket. The trailer brake electrical is also installed and working, and all 4 tires have good tread. So there you have it, folks, a 1975 Dodge D200 that's ready for its next adventure. Whether you're looking for a reliable work truck or a cool vintage ride to cruise around town in, this beauty might just be the one for you. And at just $4,000, it's a steal compared to some of the other classic trucks out there. 2, we've got a real gem for you. A 1978 Ford F-150 that's been semi-restored and is ready for a new owner. This beauty is currently listed on Craigslist for $12,500, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First things first, let's talk about the restoration work. The seller has put in some serious effort to bring this truck back to life. They've replaced the sheet metal, hood, rockers, and floor pans, as well as the cab corners. That means you won't have to worry about any pesky rust or damage in those areas. Moving on to the interior, it's clear that the seller didn't skimp on the details. The interior has been refreshed with new W strips, giving it a clean and modern look. And with a clean title and automatic transmission, you can be sure that this truck is ready to hit the road. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What about the mileage? Well, the odometer currently reads 53,921. But it's important to note that it has rolled over. While we can't be sure of the exact mileage, the seller has been upfront about this fact, which is always a good sign. Of course, no vehicle is perfect, and this F-150 does have a few minor issues that need to be addressed. The left-hand door and hood need to be adjusted, and the fan shroud needs to be installed. The left-hand door lock rod and TG latch also need some attention, but honestly, these are all relatively easy fixes that any experienced mechanic or DIY enthusiast could handle. One thing that really sets this truck apart is its 4WD capabilities. With 8 cylinders and a gas fuel system, this F-150 is ready to tackle any terrain you throw at it. And with its classic white paint job, it's sure to turn heads wherever you go. Overall, if you're in the market for a vintage truck with some serious character, this 1978 Ford F-150 is definitely worth checking out. It's clear that the seller has put a lot of love and effort into the restoration process, and it shows in every detail. 3, we've got a real beauty for you. A 1983 Chevy C10 that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. This truck is currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $25,000, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, let's talk about the engine. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful V8 350 engine that runs like a dream. And with only 50,000 original miles on the odometer, you can be sure that this truck has plenty of life left in it. But that's not all. This C10 has been upgraded with some seriously cool features. The front and rear air ride suspension is just a little over a year old, giving you a smooth and comfortable ride no matter where you go. And with power windows and locks, you'll have all the modern conveniences you need. One of the standout features of this truck is the US mag rims. The front rims measure 20 DUs 8.5, while the back rims are a massive 28 DU. And with upgraded Willwood disc brakes up front, you'll have plenty of stopping power when you need it. Inside, the interior looks great, with a clean and well-maintained look. And with a step-side and dual gas tanks, this truck is perfect for long road trips or weekend adventures. Now I know what you might be thinking. What about the cons? Well, the seller has been upfront about a few minor issues. The paint job on the hood is peeling, with the decal underneath coming up. The radio doesn't work due to a poor installation, but the seller assures us that this is an easy fix. And while the wood in the bed could be replaced if you want to show the truck, it could also be left alone if you prefer a more rustic look. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic truck with some serious style and power, this 1983 Chevy C10 is definitely worth checking out. The seller is asking $25,000 or best offer, and they encourage potential buyers to come take a look and take it for a spin before making an offer. 4. We've got a real treat for you. A 1969 Chevrolet CST C20 that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for just under $25,000. This truck is a true classic, and it's easy to see why. First off, let's talk about the basics. This C20 is a coupe body style, which gives it a unique and eye-catching look. The exterior is finished in a beautiful cream color that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What about the interior? Well, the seller hasn't specified the interior color, but that just means you have the opportunity to make it your own. Whether you want to keep it classic with a vintage-style interior or update it with modern amenities, the choice is yours. But the real star of the show here is the mileage. The seller describes this C20 as a great low-mileage truck, which is a huge selling point for any classic vehicle. While the exact mileage isn't specified, it's clear that this truck has been well maintained and cared for over the years. Of course, no vehicle is perfect, and the seller hasn't mentioned any specific issues or problems with the truck. However, they also haven't provided much detail about the engine or transmission, so it's important to do your due diligence and ask questions before making a purchase. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic truck that's reliable, safe, and full of value, this 1969 Chevrolet CST C20 is definitely worth checking out. With its unique coupe body style, beautiful cream exterior, and low mileage, it's the complete package. 5. We've got a real beauty for you, a 1971 Chevrolet C10 that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. This truck is currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $19,500, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, let's talk about the engine. Under the hood, you'll find a newly rebuilt 350 Corvette engine with less than 500 miles on it. That means you'll have plenty of power and reliability for all your driving needs. And with a 700R automatic transmission with overdrive and a classic floor shifter, you'll have smooth and easy control over the truck. But the real showstopper here is the exterior. The paint is a stunning dark green that's sure to catch the eye of anyone who sees it. And with a matching green tonneau cover with locking devices, you can keep your gear safe and secure while still looking great. Moving on to the bed, you'll find a beautiful wood bed with chrome inserts that's in excellent condition. It's the perfect combination of classic style and modern functionality. Inside, the interior is just as impressive. The black interior is sharp and well-maintained, giving you a comfortable and stylish ride. And with only 4,457 miles on the odometer, you can be sure that this truck has plenty of life left in it. But don't just take my word for it. The seller mentions that this truck has received many thumbs up from admirers, and it's easy to see why. With its great looks, powerful engine, and smooth driving, this C10 is the complete package. Of course, no vehicle is perfect, and the seller hasn't mentioned any specific issues or problems with the truck. However, they do mention that it runs great, looks good, and sounds awesome, which is always a good sign. 6. We've got a real gem for you, a 1972 Ford F-100 that's been upgraded with some serious power and modern amenities. This beauty is currently listed on Craigslist for $17,500. And let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First things first, let's talk about the drivetrain. This F100 is a true 4x4 with locking front hubs and a 4-speed manual transmission with a granny low first gear. That means you'll have plenty of control and power when you need it most. And with a 1.1 transfer case, you won't have to worry about any reduction in power. But the real star of the show here is the engine. The original FE360 has been replaced with a Stroker 347, which means you'll have even more power and torque than before. And with less than 1,000 miles on the new engine, you can be sure that it's ready to take on whatever you throw at it. But that's not all. This F100 has been upgraded with some seriously cool modern features. The engine has an Edelbrock ProFlow 4 EFI kit and a serpentine belt kit, which means you'll have better fuel efficiency and reliability than ever before. And with an aftermarket AC system installed, you'll be able to stay cool and comfortable no matter where your adventures take you. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What about the condition? Well, the seller has been upfront about the fact that this wasn't a full restoration. Instead, they wanted a drivable truck that they could enjoy on the weekends. And while it may have a few quirks here and there, the seller assures us that it starts great and runs and drives just fine. Of course, there are a few things to keep in mind. The engine and paint aren't original, and the truck could use some new tires. But honestly, these are all relatively minor issues that any experienced mechanic or DIY enthusiast could handle. 7. We've got a real beauty for you. A 1965 Chevrolet C10 that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. This truck is currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $29,000, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller describes this C10 as being in excellent condition, and from what I can see, they're not exaggerating. The body is super clean and solid, and the interior is just as impressive. This truck is a real award winner, and it's easy to see why. One of the standout features of this C10 is the super rare AC. While it's not currently hooked up, the seller assures us that all the parts are there, making it an easy fix for anyone who wants to enjoy some cool air on those hot summer days. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine that's ready to take on whatever you throw at it. And with a manual transmission and rear-wheel drive, you'll have complete control over the truck's performance. The odometer shows 120,000 miles, which is pretty impressive for a truck that's over 50 years old. It's clear that this C10 has been well maintained and cared for over the years, and it shows in every detail. But the real showstopper here is the paint. The blue color is absolutely stunning, and it's sure to make this truck stand out in any crowd. Whether you're cruising down the highway or showing it off at a classic car show, this C10 is guaranteed to turn heads. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What about the price? Well, at $29,000, this truck is definitely on the higher end of the spectrum. But when you consider the excellent condition, rare features, and overall beauty of this C10, it's clear that it's worth every penny. The seller also mentions that they don't need any help selling the truck, and they're not interested in any trades or lowball offers. So if you're serious about making this C10 your own, be prepared to pay the asking price. 8. We've got a real gem for you. A 1960 Ford F100 that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $16,000. This truck has a fascinating history and some seriously cool upgrades that make it stand out from the crowd. First off, let's talk about the engine. Under the hood, you'll find the original 292 Y-block V8 that's paired with a 4-speed manual transmission with a granny low. That means you'll have plenty of power and control when you need it most. And with a 4-barrel Holley carburetor with electric choke, you can be sure that this truck will start up and run smoothly every time. But that's not all. This F100 has some seriously cool upgrades that make it even more impressive. It's got power steering, which is a must-have for any classic truck. And the axles have been swapped out for 8-lug Dana 60s with disc brakes on the front, giving you even more stopping power and reliability. The seller also mentions that everything on the truck works, including the lights, stereo, and heater. The only things that don't work are the parking brake and windshield wipers, but the seller has already replaced the motor and says that all it needs is new linkage. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What about the condition? Well, the seller has been upfront about the fact that there is some rust on the truck. Most of it is surface rust, but there are a few holes and bubbles here and there. However, the seller assures us that the frame and floorboards are solid, and all the rust is pictured in the ad. One of the coolest things about this truck is its history. It was originally a forestry fire truck, and you can still see the original forestry yellow paint underneath the white paint that's peeling off. It even has a working spotlight, which is a seriously cool feature. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic truck with some serious character and cool upgrades, this 1960 Ford F-100 is definitely worth checking out. With its original 292 Y-block V8, 4-speed manual transmission, and 8-lug Dana 60s, it's got plenty of power and reliability. And with its fascinating history as a forestry fire truck, it's sure to turn heads wherever you go. 9. We've got a real treat for you. A 1981 Ford Bronco that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for just $5,500. This Bronco has some seriously cool features that make it perfect for anyone who loves to hit the trails. First off, let's talk about the drivetrain. This Bronco has a factory 4-speed manual transmission with a granny gear, which means you'll have plenty of control and power when you're navigating tough terrain. And with 4-wheel drive and locking hubs, you'll be able to tackle just about anything that comes your way. Under the hood, you'll find a 302 V8 engine with a 2-barrel carburetor. It's not the most powerful engine out there, but it's reliable and gets the job done. And with an MSD ignition system, you can be sure that this Bronco will start up and run smoothly every time. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What about the condition? Well, the seller has been upfront about the fact that there are a few things that need work. The interior needs some attention, and there's some rust on the front and rear bumpers that will need to be painted or re-chromed. But overall, the exterior is in good shape, and the seller has even put on some new tires to sweeten the deal. One thing to keep in mind is that this Bronco doesn't have a radio. But honestly, who needs a radio when you've got the sound of that V8 engine rumbling through the wilderness? The odometer shows just 23,000 miles, but the seller has mentioned that it has rolled over. So while we can't be sure of the exact mileage, it's clear that this Bronco has been well maintained and cared for over the years. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic off-road vehicle that's ready to take on whatever you throw at it, this 1981 Ford Bronco is definitely worth checking out. With its factory 4-speed manual transmission, 4-wheel drive, and locking hubs, it's got all the features you need to conquer the great outdoors. 10. We've got a real classic for you, a 1979 GMC K15 Sierra Classic that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for just $3,500. This truck has some serious potential, and with a little bit of TLC, it could be a real showstopper. First off, let's talk about the engine. Under the hood, you'll find a 400 small block V8 that's paired with an automatic transmission. That means you'll have plenty of power and torque to tackle just about any job or adventure that comes your way. And with 4x4 capabilities, you'll be able to take this truck just about anywhere. The seller mentions that this K15 runs and drives great for its age, which is always a good sign. However, they do note that there is some of the normal rust that you'd expect to find on a truck of this vintage. The pictures show a few spots of rust here and there, but nothing that looks too serious or beyond repair. One of the best things about this truck is that it's had a lot of recent work done to it. The seller has installed a new distributor, plugs and wires, front brakes, calipers, rotors, wheel bearings, fuel pump, rear wheel cylinders, and U-joints. That means you won't have to worry about a lot of the common issues that can plague older trucks like this. The tires are also in great shape, with good 33 12.50 R15 all-terrain tires mounted on some sharp-looking Blazer alloy wheels. Those tires will give you plenty of grip and traction no matter where you take this truck. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What about the mileage? Well, the odometer shows 150,000 miles, which is pretty typical for a truck of this age. While it's not exactly low mileage, it's clear that this K15 has been well maintained and cared for over the years. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic truck with some serious potential, this 1979 GMC K15 Sierra Classic is definitely worth checking out. With its powerful 400 small block V8, 404 capabilities, and recent upgrades, it's got everything you need to tackle just about any job or adventure. 11. We've got a real gem for you, a 1965 Ford F100 that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for just $5,900. This truck has a lot of character and potential, and it could be the perfect project for anyone who loves vintage vehicles. First off, let's talk about the engine. Under the hood, you'll find a 6-cylinder engine that's paired with a 4-speed manual transmission with a granny gear. That means you'll have plenty of control and power when you need it most, whether you're hauling a load or just cruising down the highway. The seller mentions that this F100 starts right up and doesn't leak a drop, which is always a good sign. They also note that it runs really smoothly, which is impressive for a truck that's over 50 years old. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What about the condition? Well, the seller has been upfront about the fact that there is some rust on the truck. They're willing to send pictures to interested buyers, but they also mention that overall, the truck is pretty solid. That's a big plus in my book, as rust can be a real issue with older vehicles like this. One thing to keep in mind is that the front brake pads are starting to grind, so those will need to be replaced. But other than that, the seller says that the truck is mechanically sound. Inside the cab, you'll find a CD player and everything works, including the heat, wipers, and even the cab light. That's pretty impressive for a truck of this age, and it's clear that someone has taken good care of it over the years. The odometer shows 400,000 miles, which is a lot, but it's not uncommon for trucks like this to rack up some serious mileage. The fact that it's still running smoothly is a testament to the quality and durability of these old Ford trucks. 12. We're diving into a classic beauty that's up for grabs on Craigslist, a 1968 Chevy C10 long bed pickup. This vintage ride is priced at $5,500, and it's ready for a new owner to take the wheel. Now, let's be real here. The seller admits that this C10 is in fair condition, so don't expect a pristine, showroom-ready vehicle. However, there's still plenty to love about this old-school charmer. Under the hood, you'll find a small block Chevy 307 V8 engine that's paired with a 3-speed manual transmission. The seller recently pulled the motor and fixed an oil leak, painted it up, and even threw in a new clutch and pressure plate. They also installed a Flowmaster exhaust system, so this baby's got a nice rumble. The brakes have been completely overhauled with new drums, shoes, wheel cylinders, and hoses, ensuring that you can stop on a dime. The tires are in decent shape, and the polished aluminum wheels add a touch of shine to the exterior. Inside, you'll find a nice seat, a new dash pad, and fresh door seals and window felts. The heater works well, so you can stay toasty on those chilly cruises. Now here's where we gotta be honest. This C10 needs a cab swap due to rust above the windshield, on the rockers, floors, and a few small spots on the exterior roof. Some of the gauges also don't work, so keep that in mind. But hey, that's all part of the charm, right? This 1968 Chevy C10 has a great patina that tells a story of its past adventures. It's a solid choice for a cruiser or a builder project, and with a clean title and current registration, you can hit the road as soon as you hand over the cash. So, if you're looking for a vintage ride with character and potential, head on over to Craigslist and check out this 1968 Chevy C10. At $5,500 or best offer, it's a chance to own a piece of American automotive history. 13. We've got a real workhorse up for grabs on Craigslist, a 1975 Ford F350 dump truck. This beast is priced at just $4,900, and it's ready to tackle any job you throw its way. First things first, let's address the elephant in the room. The seller is upfront about the interior being in poor condition with some rust in the floor pans. But hey, they've got you covered with new floor pans included in the sale. That's a big plus. Now, let's talk about what makes this F350 a real gem. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 390 V8 engine that runs like a champ. The seller has even installed a new starter and carburetor, so you can fire it up with confidence. The brakes are in good shape too, ensuring that you can stop this big rig when you need to. One of the standout features of this truck is the fully functional dump bed. Measuring 7.6 x 9.6, it's got plenty of space to haul whatever you need, whether it's dirt, gravel, or construction materials. And with a 10 kg VWR, gross vehicle weight rating, you know this F-350 is built to handle heavy loads. The truck has been fitted with new tires, so you can tackle any terrain with ease. And here's a bonus. No smog check is required. That's one less thing to worry about. Now, it's worth noting that the odometer has rolled over, so the actual mileage is unknown. But with a vehicle this old, it's more about how it runs than the number on the dash. The seller has included additional fuel filters to keep this baby running smoothly. The only downside is that there's no tow hitch, so if you're looking to haul a trailer, you'll need to install one yourself. But hey, that's a small price to pay for a truck that's ready to work hard for you. 14. We've got a classic 1975 Chevrolet K10 short bed up for grabs on Craigslist. This V8 powered beauty is priced at $5,000 with the old carburetor, or $5,500 with a brand new Edelbrock carburetor. And let me tell you, the price is firm, so don't try to lowball the seller. Now let's dive into the details. This K10 has been sitting in the seller's garage, but don't let that fool you. They've made some sweet upgrades, including that shiny new Edelbrock carburetor they just installed yesterday. The truck does turn on and run, but the seller is upfront about it needing some minor TLC before you can cruise around town in style. Under the hood, you'll find some goodies that are sure to make any gearhead drool. And here's a bonus. This truck is smog exempt. That's right. Any vehicle from 1975 and older gets a free pass on those pesky smog checks. The floors and rockers on this K10 are solid, which is a huge plus. However, the seller does mention some rust on top of the passenger rear tire and a bit on the lower cab corners. But hey, that's pretty common for trucks of this vintage. Now let's talk about that paint job. The seller admits it's a faded flat black, but they've got a trick up their sleeve. They've slathered baby oil all over it, creating a poor man's clear coat that makes it shine like a diamond in the photos. It's a creative solution, to say the least. One thing to note is that the front driveline has been removed, effectively turning this K10 into a 2WD truck. But that just means less maintenance for you down the road. The seller is asking for serious buyers only, so if you're ready to take on this project and make it roadworthy, give them a massage, or, a message, and set up a time to check it out. Just remember to bring a tow truck or trailer to haul this beauty home. 15. We've got a real gem up for grabs on Craigslist, a 1960 Chevy C10 that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. This classic pickup is priced at $13,500 or best offer, and it's located in the beautiful Prescott Valley of Arizona. Now, let's dive into what makes this C10 so special. Under the hood, you'll find a newer fuel-injected V8 engine that runs like a dream. Paired with an automatic transmission and power steering with tilt, this truck is a breeze to drive. And let's be real, there's nothing quite like the rumble of a V8 in a classic Chevy. The seller notes that the truck is in good condition, which is a big plus. The odometer reads 85,000 miles, but with a newer engine, you can bet this C10 has plenty of life left in it. One thing to keep in mind is that while the truck has a heater to keep you warm on those chilly Arizona nights, it doesn't have air conditioning. But hey, that's just an excuse to roll down the windows and let the wind blow through your hair as you cruise down the highway. The paint color is a classic blue, which looks absolutely stunning on this vintage pickup. And with a clean Arizona title, you can rest assured that this C10 is ready to be yours without any legal hassles. Now, the seller is asking for cash only and won't entertain any trades. They also make it clear that they won't respond to any "is this still available" messages, so if you're serious about making this C10 yours, it's best to just give them a call or shoot them a message with your best offer. At $13,500 or best offer, this 1960 Chevy C10 is a fantastic opportunity to own a piece of American automotive history. With its newer fuel-injected V8, automatic transmission, and power steering, This truck is ready to hit the road and turn heads wherever it goes. 16. Let me tell you about this fascinating 1977 Dodge Power Wagon W200. I just found on Craigslist for $3,500. This is one of those classic beasts that just demands attention. Let's be real here. This truck is definitely a project, but it's got some serious potential. Under the hood, you're getting that massive 440 engine, and the seller's being straight up about both the good and the rough spots. The truck actually runs, drives, and stops, which is huge for a vehicle of this age. They've done some decent work on it. New carb, 750 CFM, fresh brake master cylinder, new U-joints in the rear driveline, and it's sitting on 17-inch wheels. Both fuel tanks are working and filled, and it's got a new fuel pump. The body being straight is a major plus on these old trucks. Now I've got to be honest with you. There are some issues. The cab floor has rust with some holes, pretty common for these old Dodges, and it needs a bigger battery for cold starts. The seller's upfront about it needing lots more TLC, which I appreciate. But here's what makes this interesting. At $3,500, with a clean Nevada title and a documented history, there's a folder of receipts. This could be a really cool project for someone who loves these classic 404s. The airbags in the rear still work, which is pretty impressive for a 77. This isn't a ready-to-go daily driver, but for someone looking to restore a piece of American truck history, this brown Power Wagon could be a solid starting point. Just make sure you got the time and resources for the work it needs. 17. Let's talk about this 1985 Dodge W150 4x4 that's up for grabs at $4,500. I've got to say, this one's pretty interesting. Let me be totally honest with you, this is definitely a project truck, but there's some really good stuff here. The biggest win? It's got a remanufactured Crate 318 engine and transmission with only 10-20K miles on them. That's like getting a heart transplant from a teenager. The whole truck shows under 100K miles, which is pretty sweet for an 85. The good news keeps coming. It's got new wheels and tires, a fresh alternator, new radiator, and they've added some performance goodies like a $3 exhaust and performance intake. Highway gearing means it's not afraid of modern traffic speeds, and the rear brakes are new. But let's keep it real. This truck needs work. The seller's being upfront about it being a project, and there's a list of issues to tackle. The speedometer cable's shot, it's got cold start issues, probably needs choke adjustment, and the gas gauge is playing tricks on you. The driver's door hinges are worn out, so you'll be doing the classic slam and pray move. Those KC lights need some electrical love too. And about that paint job, well, let's just say Rust-Oleum rattle cans were involved. It's not winning any paint contests, but hey, at least it's protected. For $4,500, you're getting a solid foundation with a fresh powertrain, but you'll need to be ready to put in some work. The clean Nevada title is a plus, and if you're looking for a classic 4x4 project that you can actually drive while you fix it up, this could be your truck. Just make sure you've got some mechanical skills, or a good mechanic, and a garage to work in. 18. We're looking at something really special, a 1969 Chevrolet C10 that's been given the full restoration treatment, listed at $27,500. And let me tell you, this isn't your average classic pickup. What we've got here is a serious build that someone has clearly poured their heart and wallet into. The centerpiece is that beastly 383 stroker engine, topped with a 650 double pumper carb and high-rise setup. They've paired it with a freshly rebuilt 700R4 transmission. That's the same 4-speed automatic they put in Corvettes, so you know it can handle the power while still giving you comfortable highway cruising. The attention to detail here is impressive. They've gone through the whole truck with new brakes, a modern electronic dash, and a tilt steering column. The cooling system's been upgraded with an aluminum radiator and all new hoses. Smart moves for a performance build. But what really catches my eye is that bed. They've done it up with oak inlays and marine-grade paint and finish. That's the kind of detail that shows this wasn't just built to be fast, it was built to be shown. At $27,500, we're definitely in serious collector territory here, But considering the quality of the build and the current market for restored C10s, especially ones with performance upgrades like this, the price actually makes sense. The green paint looks clean, and with that clean title, you're getting a turnkey classic that's ready to either show or drive. This isn't just a restored truck, it's a carefully thought-out build that combines classic looks with modern performance and reliability. For someone looking for a high-end C10 that stands out from the crowd, this could be a really solid buy. 19. Let's check out this 1971 Chevy K10 that's up for grabs at $8,800. This is one of those classic 4x4s that's getting harder to find, especially in decent shape. Let me give you the straight scoop here. We're looking at a small block V8 paired with a 4-speed manual transmission, which is a fantastic combo for these trucks. The owner's done some recent work that matters. New Mickey Thompson wheels and tires, still got the stickers, fresh battery, new fuel pump, and a rebuilt Edelbrock carb. That's all good stuff that you won't have to deal with right away. Now let's be honest about the condition. There's some rust in the cab corners, which is pretty typical for these old K10s. But here's the good news. The seller says the rockers and floorboards are solid, which is huge because those are usually the first places these trucks rot out. The lift gives it that classic 70s 4x4 stance, and the red paint, while not perfect, gives it that classic look. The clean title is always a plus on these older trucks. For $8,800, you're getting a running, driving piece of American truck history. The seller's right. These K10s are getting harder to find, especially ones that aren't completely rusted out or priced through the roof. This one seems to hit that sweet spot of being a solid driver that you could either enjoy as is or gradually restore while still using it. Just remember, it's a 50-year-old truck, so expect some old truck quirks. But with that manual transmission and V8, it's going to give you that raw mechanical feeling that modern trucks just can't match. If you're in the market for a classic 4x4 that you can actually use, this one's worth a look. 20. We're looking at something really special. A 1967 Chevy C10 4x4 that's asking $27,500. And let me tell you, this isn't your average classic truck. The star of the show here is that blueprinted and balanced 454 big block Chevy pushing out 375 horses. That's some serious muscle. What makes this even more interesting is that it's paired with a 4-speed manual transmission, giving you complete control over all that power. The seller mentions that all the drivetrain is new, which is a huge plus for reliability. This is a restored short bed truck, and from the description, they've done it right. We're talking power steering with a tilt column, custom carpet kit, and a fiberglass shell. The seller emphasizes that it drives smooth with no rattles, which is pretty impressive for a truck of this vintage. The odometer shows 43,000 miles, though on a restored vehicle, that number is less relevant than the quality of the restoration. At $27,500, we're definitely in serious collector territory here. But consider what you're getting. A fully restored classic C10 4x4 with a monster engine, manual transmission, and apparently top-notch build quality. These short bed C10s are getting harder to find, especially ones that have been properly restored. This seems like the kind of truck that could be both a showpiece and a reliable driver. The seller's confidence in the build shows in their willingness to consider trades for other premium classics like Mustangs or Chevelle. If you're in the market for a high-end classic truck that combines vintage style with serious performance, this C10 could be worth a serious look. Just make sure you're ready for the attention. A big block 4x4 C10 like this tends to draw crowds,